Hi, this is Lisa Norton.
And this is Lora Zmak.
And we're Material Girlfriends. So we're here today to talk about block B. So block B is this block right here.
It's also this block right here.
It's also this block right here.
And this one right here.
So we're going to want to be sure that we get block B nailed so that the other ones will be easier to assemble.
All right. In block B, you're going to be making, on page 29 is your cutting instructions. And we're going to be making two basic units. The first unit we'll be making is this square and a square. Now, you've already made the square and a square in block A. In fact, you've already mastered it by now. So we're not going to go ahead and give you any demonstration on this. If you need a refresher, go ahead and refer to the video of block A. We're actually going to be focused on making this unit. So this unit, you'll notice you have flying geese. So let's make those flying geese.
So the flying geese, we're going to be making 4 at a time. It's a wonderful method to make 4 at a time because many of the blocks that we make require 4 flying geese. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with your larger background square, and then you're going to need 4 of the smaller yellow squares.
So this is the body of the geese, and this is the wing.
So you're going to draw a diagonal line on the smaller yellow squares. When you've drawn that diagonal line, you'll position it in opposite corners of your larger background square. And what you want to be sure is that you have an overlap. Do you see how my squares overlap each other? But you're going to want to make sure, alignment is very important, that this line that you've drawn is going to remain one long diagonal. You don't want it to shift over like that. That'll mess it up. So make sure your line stays on the diagonal.
Now in other units that you worked on, you sewed right on the line. This time we're going to sew 1/4 of an inch on each side of that drawn line. So you're going to get a unit that looks like this.
So once you've sewn 1/4 of an inch on each side of that drawn line, you're then going to cut it on the diagonal there, right on that center line.
Do you want to cut it, Lisa, or you want me to just show this piece?
Oh, I can cut it.
Okay.
There we go. Now I've got 2 pieces.
Now you're going to take those and you're going to just go ahead and press them.
So you're going to press it so it looks like those pieces.
So it looks like this guy. Now I'm going to take another one of those wings or yellow pieces. We're going to align it in the opposite corner. Pin each side.
Now you might notice that this square is not drawn on the diagonal, where there was just one line on the diagonal and you sewed 1/4 of an inch on each side. There is a nifty little tool, because sometimes drawing 1/4 of an inch on each side of the line can be a little challenging. This tool is just a 1/4 inch ruler, and if you line it up corner to corner, you can actually draw your sewing line instead. So the sewing line is actually drawn on this one instead of just once on the diagonal. You're going to sew on that line and then cut right down the middle. And now your block is done.
Now you're going to trim away all those little dog ears and you'll have your flying geese.
So this method made 4 flying geese, and you're going to sew a flying geese to a gold rectangle. Now alignment for this one is important, but you need to always ask yourself, when alignment, what's the point? So the point on this is actually our flying geese, our point right there in the center. So when you line up, splitting the difference, should there be a difference, would be okay on this one. So you would line it up with your edge. I don't really have any differences on this. It turned out okay. So I'm going to just pin in the center, and that would be fine. When I'm sewing my 1/4 inch seam, I make sure that it's lined up here and I'm going along with my 1/4 inch. I'm going to try and sew this side of the V. So we've got a V here on that stitching. You're going to want your stitching to land just this side of it. Not right on, because that'll help roll over your corner, and definitely not past. even if it means your 1/4 inch seam might be a skinny 1/4 of an inch, but you'll be able to have beautiful points if you can manage to stay just next to that intersection there.
All right, well, that made this beautiful unit. And now I have this unit. Well, they're going to be sewn together. How do I align that, Lisa?
So again, you're going to ask yourself, what's the point? We have a point here and we have a point here. So that's what I'm going to line up first is my first points. So when I'm going to line up, I'll stick a pin right in that intersection there. And then I'm going to do my best guesstimate of where my 1/4 inch seam might be right at that intersection there. And again, hold it up. Okay, I didn't line it up too well, so I'm going to try it again. Go a little bit deeper. There, that's really good. Okay, so now that my edge is lined up, my V is lined up with my seam, I now find my point. Now you can see here, the point's not exactly lined up, it's slightly shorter. That's okay. So what we're gonna do is let me stick a pin in this so it stays. And on the other side. And when I go to my point, I'm gonna take this square, or this triangle that's on top, I'm gonna perfectly line it up with my point and stick a pin in it. And now you see that there's definitely a gap there, right? When we get ready to sew, we're going to start sewing our 1/4 inch seam. You're going to give it a little tug, and that tug is called easing. So we're going to sew, give it a little tug. I make sure that I pull out my pins just before my needle crosses it. And then at this end where there's no point, it's not as big a deal if it doesn't line up perfectly. If it's slightly short or long, it's fine. But if you can ease right to the corner, that's even better.
Now, would you leave this center pin right here as it is?
Oh no, I would pull that one out when I was trying to sew. It would just be in the way.
All right.
There's our alignment tips. Have fun.
That is going to look pretty awesome. Sweet.